It is logical to accept that other civilizations exist. However, there is evidence, objectives. Reincarnation is a subject that merits deep study. They exist. Research. Objectives that demonstrate it is a reality. As a person becomes more spiritually evolved, they become increasingly intuitive. This means they have the capacity to foresee future events. Welcome to the Eternal Life channel, Answers from Science. We are starting a new video in which we will respond the different messages we are receiving.
What scientific theories could explain communication between the living and the dead? It is a reality.
The communication between the living and the dead. In my experience, it is very evident in patients with near-death experiences. It also occurs in other kinds of transcendent phenomena, namely the experiences of the dying. Patients experience this more frequently than we realize, especially during the transition of death in those final moments. It is common for the dying person to make contact with deceased loved ones. How is this? The only explanation is that it isn't possible with the scientific method. In order to scientifically explain this connection, we need to address it through a quantum theory. We've said that the universe's structural component is energy, and one property is that it vibrates continuously in waves, electromagnetic. Though when coherence happens in quantum coherence, which means the vibration of two people, whether they are alive or one living and one dead, at the moment this quantum coherence occurs, meaning they vibrate at the same intensity, is when communication between them becomes possible. We see this clearly in relationships among the living. We interact to another person through the release of our electromagnetic waves. If the waves released by both individuals are coherent, the relationship is positive and deep. When it is not, there is no quantum coherence and there is no closeness in the connection between the two individuals. And when the coherence nullifies each other, the relationship becomes toxic. The same occurs in the relationship between the living and the dead. The only possibility is that, from a scientific viewpoint, is that quantum coherence takes place between the vibrations of the living and the individual on another level in the astral realm, in a more subtle vibration. Is there objective research on reincarnation?
Reincarnation is a subject that warrants thorough investigation.
There are actually studies that objectively prove it is real. Scientifically, proving it is more difficult. Psychiatrists Brian Weiss and Jan Stevenson have conducted thorough studies. Brian Weiss and Ian Stevenson, both psychiatrists, have done deep studies. There are many objective data that support, by pure scientific reasoning, that a relationship exists between people at significant moments and past situations, indicating they are an example of reincarnation. There is a technique, deep hypnosis, that helps us to investigate past lives and provides evidence of reincarnation. From a fully scientific perspective, proving reincarnation is quite difficult. Now, from a 100% scientific perspective, it is very difficult to have proof that we can demonstrate reincarnation, that have a proximity, that have enough weight to propose, to think and suggest that reincarnation exists, that reincarnation is indeed possible based on pure scientific logic. But we don't have a 100% scientific test at the moment.
What scientific evidence exists to support precognition?
It's another instance of the universe's structural reality. It is that the structural element is energy and energy vibrates. For precognition to manifest, which is another transcendent experience like telepathy, precognition, mystical experiences, psychokinesis, dying experiences, near-death experiences, all these transcendent manifestations can only be objectively demonstrated when quantum coherence occurs. That is, the vibration of the person is indeed coherently in relation to the peaks and valleys of their electromagnetic waves with future circumstances or another person, alive or dead, because this telepathy or precognition can involve deceased individuals or even living people from a distance. That is, they can foresee the future because they resonate at a level of superconsciousness. And we know that supraconsciousness, from the viewpoint of time, it always operates in the present, in the current moment, in the present moment. There is no past or future. Patients convey this well in near-death experiences, where they tell us, for example, that they see their whole life, past, present, and future, in one instant. In other words, only the present exists. In the dimension of supraconsciousness, this thus supports the possibility of precognition.
How do precognition and intuition differ?
Intuition is the capability we have to know during a conflict. The more spiritually evolved a person is, to solve this issue as effectively as possible in order to address this problem in the most effective way possible. The more advanced a person is in their spiritual journey, that is to say, they can contact or know how to contact their superconsciousness more, the more intuitive they become. Precognition at its core is the same. It is the ability to know. Precognition is essentially the same. It's the ability to know. It is exactly the same. It is based. It's exactly the same. It depends. Of quantum coherence and the experience of superconsciousness, the activity of supraconsciousness, which always moves on the same plane, which is the plane of the present, the moment, the current time. That is, all is present.
Are you an intuitive person?
I've already stated, and I repeat often, that I have not had any near-death experience, nor do I have the ability to recognize experiences beyond the senses. What I can say is that I've practiced and I have learned meditative methodology, meditation with advanced techniques, and meditation is a way, a method that has helped me connect with supraconsciousness. When someone connects with supraconsciousness, it is an experience they never forget. It is something they cannot forget. They realize their existential reality, peace, harmony, and joy. That one enjoys the moment they connect with their supraconsciousness. It has no comparison when we approach life in the materialistic human dimension. From the moment I advanced through the methods of meditation and succeeded, though it can be difficult, in connecting with my supraconsciousness, I have transformed. I have to admit that I have transformed. More intuitive than before, which was more egomaniac feelings ruled me.
Have you had any experience with telepathy?
Frequently. Telepathy refers to the capacity for communication between minds. At this very moment in time, with a person who can be close or far away, telepathy can occur over great distances. For it to exist, it is always the same. For this communication to exist, which is always energetic through electromagnetic waves. Quantum coherence must exist, and it only arises when there is a sense of affinity between elements, between people. I am lucky to have a deep affinity with the person I love the most, who is my wife. And we often show telepathy in the sense that we are calmly sitting and discussing a topic, and one of us suddenly brings up something that has absolutely nothing to do with it. And at the time when the other person is discussing it, also at that moment he changes his mind and has the same thought. In other words, there is communication, coherent energy in response to the same intellectual activity.
Is it possible to explain paranormal phenomena using a scientific and thorough approach?
Paranormal effects, that is, those that deviate from normality, would be effects that lie outside the explanation of the scientific method. Materialist. The materialist scientific method logically is completely contrary and not. It acknowledges all transcendent phenomena since it is founded on matter, and all these phenomena are rooted in energy. Indeed, we possess objective scientific proof, and we see it very clearly, for example, in the phenomena of near-death experiences. The tests we can conduct, for example, with functional magnetic resonance imaging, which explain to us that a patient, while clinically dead, is able to describe an object that is at a distance, possibly on the other side of the world, and that he had never seen before. While his body was dead and they practiced CPR moves and can describe this object that sparked a special interest in him, her, it triggered what is referred to as memory, visual. This is conditioned by what we refer to as mirror neurons. This indicates that the patient truly observed that object. It is an objective scientific proof that the patient shows a transfer of information independent of space and time, which we can scientifically demonstrate and is impossible to prove with the method of the materialist scientific method. Quantum physics also has a series of principles that closely parallel and help us explain, by proximity and parallelism, the phenomena reported by patients who have had near-death experiences. These principles are state superposition, quantum coherence, the coherence, quantum coherence. This is exactly as it is. Quantum coherence, the tunneling effect. All these phenomena enable us to explain, from a scientific perspective, the phenomena that patients describe as transcendent when they are having near-death experiences.
Are we close to the scientific community conducting in-depth research on near-death experiences?
It is clear that the scientific world has strongly opposed any transcendent manifestation because it lacks a material explanation. The scientific method studies the objective, the real, the macroscopic, and the transcendent logically does not have these fundamental factors that the scientific method accepts by principle. However, the current progress we are making with functional magnetic resonance imaging, quantum mechanics, and the Kirlian camera allows us to see the aura around a person. That is, with each passing day, we have scientific progress that allows us to justify the existence of transcendent phenomena and provides an explanation scientifically. Always from an energetic perspective, where everything is energy, and understanding and accepting the deep mechanism of energy, we can then interpret all these transcendent phenomena in a scientific manner.
What do you think of the criticisms that research on NDEs receives from some in the scientific community?
This is a phenomenon I've encountered in my research and interest in deeply understanding near-death experiences. Initially, the opposition was fierce, and as a doctor, surrounded by colleagues who are all trained in medical school by the Cartesian and Newtonian scientific method, the acceptance of transcendent phenomena was completely inadmissible, unacceptable in any way. However, I must acknowledge that lately, more and more, consciousness is expanding. And in this, I feel proud and believe it is one of the fundamental goals we aim for with our videos. Awakening consciousness, that is, accepting that we are body matter, that we are mind, which is a subtle energy, and that we are supraconsciousness or spirit. And we have more and more evidence that is closer, even scientific, that allows us to demonstrate the reality of these phenomena. I see the number of doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists, neurologists, and especially surgeons is increasing. We fundamentally rely on objectivity, morphology, anatomy, and physiology. The number of scientists is also increasing who, in light of the evidence and demonstration with more advanced scientific methods, recognize that transcendence is real. We cannot deny it.
Do you believe there is intelligent life on other planets or galaxies?
Logically, I believe that the cosmos is infinite. If it existed only for this small, miserable speck we call our planet, and our civilization, which still has much to learn and mature, logically, it wouldn't make sense. By logic, we should accept that other civilizations exist. However, there is proof, objective. This is what we call panspermia, developed by Arrhenius. What is panspermia? When we study the origin of life on our planet, which began 4,000 years ago, the first living organism was a cell, a plant-like bacterium, a cyanobacterium. This cyanobacterium later evolved, leading to multicellular organisms, developed, algae intervened, and eventually different branches appeared that gave rise to the various families and species that exist today. Ours, remember, we originated from fish, amphibious reptiles, reptiles birds, birds mammals, mammals and primates hominids. This is our ancestry. So then, as I said, the first living being was a cyanobacterium, a unicellular organism. They have been discovered in meteorites, that is, in physical objects that have arrived from other locations in the universe, genetic materials, protein, and beings that are similar, cells resembling cyanobacteria that originated from space, from elsewhere, which objectively demonstrates this is called panspermia. This shows objectively in a real sense, and objectively that life exists. At least life like ours exists elsewhere in the universe. We don't know where, but I am convinced, logically and by this objective data, that life exists in other places in the cosmos.
What's the difference when we talk about other dimensions concerning extraterrestrial life?
What is a dimension? How might we define it? We define a dimension as the ability to move an entity in relation to space and time. Our human dimension moves in three aspects. Human life moves in three dimensions. Einstein introduced the fourth, which is time. Today we know there are more dimensions. To explain and try to unify the four forces of the universe, gravity, the electromagnetic force, the strong nuclear force, and the weak nuclear force, there has been an attempt to find the theory that would unify the four forces. This represented the major interest Einstein pursued, which he never attained in any way. What is most difficult to bring together is the force of gravity and quantum mechanics. This is the toughest part. No method has been found to tackle this problem. Everett proposed the string theory, or superstrings along with the theory. What is string theory? String theory posits that each particle is like a filament, and the difference between one subatomic particle and another is the type of vibration each of these filaments presents. This is why we speak of the cosmic symphony. This is string theory. And with string theory, it is deduced that there are 11 distinct dimensions, which we, due to our capacity to perceive through our sensory organs, cannot detect. Yet, it is acknowledged that there are 11 distinct dimensions. We navigate 4. And I repeat that we should define a dimension as the capacity of an object to move within space-time.
What is our place in the cosmos?
Our place in the cosmos has changed significantly since our existential conception was based on the scientific method. Therefore, the scientific method thought in humans that it caused or provoked or was subject to strict determinism. What does this signify? That humans existed in the universe as simple observers. Everything depended on natural forces, the 4 forces we mentioned of the universe, which they cannot alter in any way. Therefore, they were mere observers in the universe. Nonetheless, with the emergence of theoretical physics and quantum mechanics, Bohr, Niels Bohr, Nobel, Einstein's disciple, demonstrated a fundamental fact that has completely changed our existential conception and our relationship with the cosmos. In Thomas Young's classic experiment, what it involves is passing a flow of electrons through a double slit. They show up on a screen, as anticipated, as waves, with interference among them. However, when observing the flow of electrons, meaning when an intelligent observer intervened, when humans were involved, then on the screen the electron flow appeared as individual particles. From this, Bohr could distinctly infer, that the human conscious mind can change energy into matter. This process is known as collapsing energy. Thus, we are co-creators of the universe. Everything we do influences the universe. Everything we see as physical around us is an illusion. It is energy that we transform. So the notion of determinism is fully discarded from the scientific method. We are co-creators of the universe as we can transform collapsed energy into matter. So we have a direct influence on the universe.